watching Sun TV, broadcasting to the world from studios in Providenciales, in the beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Sun TV, your source for real news as it happens.
The UK government has rejected a proposal from the Turks and Caicos Islands government to delay the implementation of the value-added tax. Premier Dr. Rufus Ewing told reporters at a press conference on Tuesday that he received a letter from Overseas Territory Minister Mark Simmons informing him about the decision. Ewing said he was disappointed with the UK government's decision, but stressed that he will continue to fight against the implementation of VAT, which he says will have a serious impact on the economy of the Turks and Caicos Islands. We hear more in this report.
It says that I have reflected on your proposal for a delay in the implementation of VAT. I judge that this would present significant risk. A delay at this stage would risk undermining the credibility of the government's commitment to VAT, particularly with those businesses that have invested in preparation. It would unlikely to diminish the opposition of those businesses who will have to pay tax for the first time or open their books or lose some of their benefits of excessive concessions they have obtained. It would create uncertainty about government revenue for 2013 and 2014 and require you prudently to curtail public expenditure further than would otherwise be necessary, and certainly to reduce it well below the levels set out in the draft fiscal and strategic policy statement, which assumes VAT is in place. And I am not convinced that the delay would make it easier for you to find and commit to the introduction of a credible alternative. I fear that a property or income tax would be likely to attract opposition at least as strong as VAT. I therefore welcome your proposal to submit to the Secretary of State a fiscal and strategic policy statement at the end of January. I expect this to set out your medium-term revenue raising and expenditure plans and thus enable us to conclude debate on VAT. This will enable your government to focus on implementation of your vision for TCI and on the preparation of a budget for 2013-2014. While you are finalizing this, I expect preparations for VAT implementation to continue at full speed, including investment in planned new IT so that it can take effect on April 1st. You may wish to consider ways to make introduction of VAT more acceptable. One option would be to enhance the TCIG's effort to explain VAT and so address the misunderstandings and misapprehensions of ordinary Turks and Caicos Islanders that VAT will significantly increase tax burden and the price of staple items. Another option would be to commit to a review of VAT after 1 year, including looking at the operation, exemptions, thresholds, and rates. In the context of this new review, it would of course be open to you to introduce additional and sustainable replacement taxation. I will be disappointed if you decide to give only tacit support for implementation of VAT while continuing to blame the interim administration for committing TCI to this policy. I am sure you will see that it will be vital for you and your ministers to facilitate effective implementation, since your expenditure plans will depend on this. If revenue were to fall short of projections, TCIG would have to take steps to reduce spending. I would like to conclude by saying how useful I found your broader discussions in the TCI in London, for example, on ways to develop TCI's economy, on education and health, and the likes. I don't need to cherry coat or sugarcoat any of that. But that in essence, the extract from a letter to me in response to my request for delay of implementation of VAT while we find alternatives. That from all indications from this letter that they will be moving full speed to the implementation of VAT come April 1st, regardless of what we put forward. So in reading deep into this letter, I read this as a rejection of our request to have a delay in the implementation, and also I read this as a commitment on their part to the implementation of VAT, regardless of the objection by this government, regardless of the objections by the members of the opposition, regardless of the objection by the public and business community at large. I can dare say that we have been in dialogue with the members of the opposition who themselves are not happy with VAT and are not in support of VAT, and that was their position from day one during campaign, and there's no indication that that position has changed. And I'm sure they will speak for themselves very shortly in their statement on VAT, their position on VAT. And I'm sure we'll be working collaboratively with this government to make sure that VAT is not implemented against the wishes of the people.
During the press conference, which was also attended by cabinet members Washington Missick, Amanda Missick, Portia Stubbs-Smith, George Lightburn, and opposition leader Charlene Cartwright Robinson, and a deputy leader, Sean Aswit, Dr. Ewing said the PNP government had put together a whole set of alternatives that would be able to raise more revenue for the TCI instead of VAT. Minister of Finance Washington Missick had very strong words for the UK government and Governor Rick Todd. He accused them of being high-handed and disrespecting the views of Turks and Caicos Islanders. Missick said the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands must take a united stand against how the British government and the governor continue to treat residents of this country.
Demonstrable of the attitude of the British government. It says that we don't really have a good faith partner. It reinforces my view that an election was called because of international pressure maybe, and we have been elected as window dressing, because for everything that has happened, there's absolutely no intention of having an elected government at this time, including the fact that the Premier doesn't even have an office in Provo. But speaking directly to value-added tax and any sort of taxation, it is a basic, fundamental principle of British democracy that only Parliament can enforce tax on the people. That goes back centuries, right? And what they're trying to do is against their own principles and their own common law. Whether it is good for us or bad for us, the people, the business communities generally oppose value-added tax. He's written to the Premier suggesting that he's depending on us to educate the public. Well, it's not our business to educate the public on something we disagree with. And in fact, that is what they should have done at the very beginning. And that was never done. And I have no intention of educating the public. As far as I'm concerned, as far as we're concerned rather, our focus is on opposing this. We have credible alternatives that does not substantially alter the way we do business in this country and will raise far more revenue than they're projecting from value-added tax. And we believe value-added tax is projected, or it is assumed, that they will raise $10 million extra. Not all of the work is completed on our projections, And we're showing between $15 and $16 million of extra revenue. And the governor can do what he likes. He's got the right to revoke my appointment, right, as Minister for Finance, and he can do that. He can call in his prosecutors, he can fill his jails, he can direct his courts. But as far as I'm concerned, I am opposed to value-added tax, and what we are proposing as a government and as a responsible parliament, we are proposing alternatives that make sense to us and will help to grow our economy and protect our people. And that's what I came here for. And that's what I intend to do.
I'm Lillian Boyce. Thanks for watching Sun TV. Join us again tomorrow when we bring you more news as it happens, directly to your computer or mobile device.